And welcome to this week's Leader Lunch Break Way Forward workshop. We're really excited to have Jessica Cohen with us this afternoon. Jessica grew up on Long Island and came to Cleveland with that terrible label of trailing spouse. She immediately grew roots, made her mark, and called our city, and her home. Jessica gives back mightily in her Jewish community and in our greater Cleveland community. She's chaired the Cleveland Heights Planning Commission and the board of a Jewish organization that tends to the sick. Her work experience includes on the Hill in DC, with Breakthrough Schools, with the Jewish Federation here in Cleveland, with Unify Labs, and now as the manager of state government affairs for Verizon. She served on the boards of the Hispanic Alliance, the United Black Fund, and she raises her hand wherever she can give of her talents. In her spare time, she serves as faculty at Weatherhead. She's the mother of 4 children, ages 4 through 10, and she's a law student at Cleveland State University's Cleveland John Marshall College of Law. She's a 2019 difference maker and 40 under 40, and I don't think that she ever sleeps. Her advice for you would be, when you're in doubt, go for it, because you'll never regret not trying. Jessica, you clearly try everything, and I know you've got a lot of Adler fans here with us today. So with that, welcome, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Marianne. That was a very warm welcome, and I really appreciate it. I'm going to share my screen, hopefully without incident. There we go. And hold on. Okay, now for a second. Great. So thank you so much. Okay, we got that all settled. Very excited to be with all of you this afternoon. I want to first congratulate the Cleveland Leadership Center on the Spark 2020 event. It was great. I was so excited to participate, but we were also really proud here at Verizon that one of our partners, John Carroll University, received a Fresh Innovator Award for the initiative that actually the Verizon Foundation funded this year. So that was exciting. Thanks, CLC. I'm going to talk about Verizon today. Verizon Communications is a global company, one of the largest communication technology companies in the world. Yet we have quickly and nimbly responded to the confluence of national and global crises we have all weathered together over the past 7 months or so. So speaking about the corporate response today, we're going to be talking about our COVID-19 response, how we foster digital inclusion as part of our corporate social responsibility efforts, and how we confront social and racial injustice. I'm going to start with COVID-19. Internationally, actually, Verizon was working to respond to this global pandemic before it even reached the United States. And here in the US and around the world, we had to respond to the needs of our employees, our customers, and society. But how does a global company respond to a global pandemic in a way that protects its 135,000 employees around the globe, ensures the best possible connectivity, service, and experience for its millions of customers, and lives its mandate of corporate social responsibility? First, I want to talk about employees. We transitioned 90% of our workforce to work from home in the first month of the pandemic. Now, you can do the math. I have not, but that's a lot of employees. This was unimaginable prior to COVID-19. And perhaps even more impressive, Verizon did not lay off any of its employees. When our retail stores closed, retail employees were actually retrained and transitioned to at-home telesales or customer service positions. And when daycare centers across the country closed, Verizon shifted its backup dependent care efforts to allow for reimbursement of in-home babysitting. We also offered extra compensation for full-time employees still working in the fields or offices, and we launched a COVID-19 specific leave of absence policy that provides 100% of pay for up to 8 weeks, and then 60% of pay for up to 16 weeks. This is and was one of the most expansive sick leave policies of big employers. And we have a dedicated COVID-19 resource page. And we have a daily webcast at noon that continues till today, but initially our CEO, Hans Vestberg, was on daily with other executive leadership team members talking to us about the company's response. Okay, I want to share some numbers with you, because at the same time as we were shifting employees, caring for their welfare, and implementing policies to support them, we still had to keep the nation connected during this time of crisis. And I'm sure all of the Verizon customers out there appreciate this. So to just give you a sense of the tremendous responsibility we had during the first 90 plus days of the country's COVID response, here's some numbers. Our Verizon customers over this time period sent 519 plus billion text messages. They made 58 plus billion phone calls, and that resulted in 297 billion minutes of talk time. And collectively, we used 10.3 trillion megabytes of data. If you have no idea what that is, this is equivalent to 7.7 billion hours of video calling, 2.1 trillion songs streamed, or 10.3 trillion Instagram photos. So that's basically all of your sourdough bread photos, your daily FaceTiming with family, and a whole lot of Netflix. And as Marianne alluded to, my 4 children alone may have accounted for a quarter of that data. It's true. We're a little embarrassed about that. But the good news is that in the midst of these dramatic usage spikes and shifts in demand, Verizon's network performed remarkably well. We maintained pre-COVID reliability levels, and that's just amazing. And I'm very grateful as a mom and a working human being. And if keeping everyone connected wasn't enough, Verizon made a commitment to increase its capital guidance for 2020 by $1 billion. And this is to accelerate Verizon's transition to 5G, the next generation of wireless technology, and help support the economy during this period of disruption. You may not know, because I did not, but Verizon's already the 3rd largest capital investor in the United States. But that's $1 billion in additional investment in our networks to keep all of us connected today and tomorrow. But that's not all. We created new in-store experiences at our retail locations. Curbside service, touchless retail, facial covering requirements, and more are keeping customers and employees safe while still providing the exemplary customer service Verizon is known for. We've also expanded our exclusive wireless discounts. In addition to active duty military, veterans, and first responders, we added K-12 students, post-secondary students, and nurses, as well as teachers for K-12 and post-secondary. COVID-19 may have changed the way we do business, but it has not changed Verizon's world-renowned care and support of its employees and customers. And that's why I'm really proud, and we all are really proud, that Forbes named Verizon #1 in the Forbes Corporate Responders list, which ranks 100 of the largest companies in the US for their response to the pandemic. Talking about digital inclusion, as a result of COVID-19 and the subsequent closures of schools, we had a new awareness of how important digital inclusion is for our children, and I think we probably all do. Fortunately, Verizon has been active in this space for almost a decade, bringing connectivity, new technology, and resources for students and teachers with significant investments in schools and neighborhoods. I want to watch this together with you, this short video about a Cleveland student, Keziah, and how the Verizon Innovative Learning 5G Lab has changed her educational experience.
My favorite STEM-related class that I have in school really is math. I've improved so much. My grades are only A's or only A+. I do not pass for anything below.
Keziah soars. She is so self-motivated. Keziah has really just come into her own. She knows who she is, and she loves herself for it.
Verizon Innovative Learning makes it easier to do homework. Teachers can send me information that really helps me get my work done faster and then still be able to understand it.
It's a pleasure to teach a child like Keziah, even from a little tiny child. She was just always so open and receptive to learning. When we find kids like that, we really hold them close and special in our hearts.
She loves school. She loves to learn. Verizon Innovative Learning has allowed her to be more interactive with technology.
What makes Keziah a standout student is just that she's a model scholar. It's inspiring even from an adult perspective.
I want to become a veterinarian, so the technology helps me grow in that.
I'm really excited to see what she chooses to do as an adult.
I love that video. That's right here in Cleveland. It's a breakthrough middle school, E-Prep Cliffs at East 36th and Superior. You all know I have a special affection for Breakthrough also. The lab opened in 2019 and was the first Verizon Innovative Learning 5G lab in the entire country. Yes, Verizon chose Cleveland first. So exciting. The lab has 3D printers, 2 virtual reality stations, and other cutting-edge technology. This provides an immersive collaboration that turns lesson plans into living, breathing, dynamic experiences. So since 2012, Verizon Innovative Learning Program has provided over $535 million in market value towards STEM education, helping under-resourced communities bridge the digital divide with a comprehensive approach that doesn't just provide devices, but actually ensures that students and teachers gain the digital literacy skills they need to use the technology effectively and thrive in a digital world. And these are the same skills that our students are using today to engage in remote learning. Verizon Innovative Learning equips every student and teacher at select middle schools across America with a tablet and up to 4 years of data, providing access for learning in the classroom and at home. The program is currently featured in over 260 schools across the country, with a plan to expand the program to at least 350 schools by next year. Here in Cleveland, I'm proud to share we had initially 3 schools, and we've launched an additional 5 CMSD schools in 2020. In addition to technology and access, Verizon Innovative Learning provides schools with dedicated technology coaches and support to train teachers on effectively integrating technology into the classroom across all subjects. In a survey, 93% of our teachers agreed that there were aspects of teaching remotely that were easier to implement because of their role as a Verizon-supported teacher. We're also igniting these students' interest in STEM careers, providing them the opportunity to become lifelong learners. But you might be asking, what about this new normal? Because CMSD students aren't actually in school, and Breakthrough students aren't actually in their lab. Well, first and foremost, all of our VIL students have their devices and their internet connection provided free of charge, so that's with them. Also, Verizon's offering unlimited 4G LTE wireless internet connections at a discounted rate for eligible K-12 public school students. This is available to schools across Ohio to provide a reliable internet connection for every student who needs one for this school year. We're also increasing the scale of our education work with a STEM Activity Center. This is an online toolkit that provides STEM resources and hands-on activities that students can leverage in or out of the classroom. And we're building teacher training pathways, a credentialed training program focused on digital skills, remote learning, and digital coaching. Open to all educators across the country, the courses will help teachers become more efficient and effective with technology integrated instruction so they can navigate digital learning. This is going to launch in October. Some of you know my husband's a public school teacher in Cleveland Heights, so he's super excited, and I'm going to send him the link as soon as they publish. So digital inclusion, just to close this part out, it isn't limited through K-12 education efforts. Another part of my role in the Northern Ohio market is to work with the Verizon Foundation to allocate funds to local nonprofits. So here in Cleveland, we funded Lutheran Metropolitan Ministries and Towards Employment to transition their workforce development programs for the formerly incarcerated to virtual platforms in the midst of COVID-19. We have an extensive volunteer effort with Towards Employment that's engaging Verizon employees across the country and even around the world as mock interviewers and tech buddies, helping clients navigate the job training process and the tech platform they're using. We've also funded the work at Ashbury Community Computer Center. This is a computer training center for Cleveland seniors that allowed them to provide communication to the community about connectivity and digital literacy programs available to residents. Okay, taking a breath, shifting now to racial justice. Quickly, my time is running out. The murder of George Floyd awakened a nation and took us from the many moments of racial injustice we've experienced and brought us to a movement. Verizon has had for years one of the most diverse corporate boards in America. We've had an intense focus on ensuring diversity and inclusion, and we even have had a commitment to our operation of a robust set of supplier diversity and inclusion. We've also been very engaged on the issue of criminal justice. We have pro bono efforts where our entire Verizon's legal team, and it is large, working at both the state and federal levels to help expunge or seal people's criminal records so it doesn't impact their ability to secure employment in the future. But all of this stood in stark relief as the world and all of us witnessed the callous murder of George Floyd. All of this just seemed as not enough. And as we all reported to work that Monday, June 1st, after watching a weekend of protests and social unrest, it was a morning that left so many of us unsettled. How could we work while we grappled with what this meant for our country, Black Americans, all of us? And I could share with you my feelings from that weekend, but I want you to hear now from our CEO, Hans Vestberg. This video is just about 2 minutes or so of Hans's message to all 135,000 V-teamers that morning.
It's a sad situation we see in the nation right now. And I've been talking to my leadership team all this weekend and I understand the situation. And it's hard to understand what's happening. And I rarely have hard with words, but I have it today. And I decided I'm going to read what I think. It's hard to get the words right. These events unfolding across the country, they're rooted in hate and contradictory with our beliefs as a company. And leave me with a feeling of regret and sadness. Verizon is fiercely committed to diversity, inclusion across all spectrums because it makes us and the world a better place. Why it's so difficult for me to understand. I'm hopeful that the rest of the country will come to an understanding that valuing everyone equally is the best way forward. These events have really struck a chord for me and our entire leadership team. I know that many of you are deeply saddened and outraged by the events which have unfolded as well. I want our Black employees to know that they matter and they are valued. Although I don't share the same life experience, I want to listen, understand and help. And I know that my leadership wants to do it as well. I'm an ally, and my thoughts are with all of the families who have been profoundly impacted by these events. It's important that we all come together as a V team at this unprecedented and uncertain time, and above all, support one another.
I think that we as V-teamers really needed that on that Monday morning. And Hans's emotion, his authenticity, and the message itself really set the tone for Verizon's commitments that followed. A little later in that same address to the V-team, Hans announced that the Verizon Foundation would be making a $10 million commitment to social justice organizations. Verizon also created and published in a matter of days a race and social justice action toolkit. This isn't available just to employees, but to everyone. It's public and it's on our website. Verizon launched an internal racial equity and justice leadership plan. Our internal teams partner to curate resources we can use to build understanding and learn about how we can support one another and take action. This took the form partially of a number of virtual forums for employees across the company, featuring speakers on equity, Black V-teamers sharing their experiences, and to mark Verizon's 20th anniversary, the launch of #Next20, a new series that discusses the top social, business, and technology issues through a lens of racial equity. We also broadened our local investment focus to support racial equity efforts. Here in Cleveland, I'm very proud that Verizon is a sponsor of the Cleveland Public Library's upcoming Democracy 2020 Speaker Series on racial equity, featuring Ibram X. Kendi and Brian Stevenson, authors that are close to my heart. And we've also sponsored YWCA's Go Live for Equity series this month and next. And we've supported the United Black Fund's efforts for voter registration in the Cleveland community. Just last week, Hans announced Verizon's support for the Board Challenge, calling on U.S. corporate boards of directors to add a Black director within the next year to improve the representation of Black leaders on the boards of U.S. companies. All of this, I think as you could tell from Hans's speech, is not just words or empty actions at Verizon. This is part of the core of our organization, a reflection of our company's deep commitment to furthering not only the conversation on racial equity, but doing all that we can to actually move the needle. And that is Verizon today. So I'm going to turn it back over to Rachel.
Great, Jessica, thank you so much. And we do have some questions that we can start with. So you mentioned some of the discounts and resources for families and students. How would families go about accessing those discounts and resources?
Yeah, so that the discounted access programs are through the school districts. And so if they are in school districts that are not accessing that, they can connect me to somebody in the school district, they can ask their school district to reach out to me, and I can connect them with our teams that are working on that partnership.
So in thinking about the social isolation and some of the lack of access for digital resources, this extends beyond students and families. How might Verizon be addressing some of those issues among, say, like the older population?
Yes, so I think that part of that is through our local philanthropy, and this is across the country. So there's a number of me's in local markets across the country that are working with nonprofit organizations on access for seniors, digital literacy for seniors. We are very proud, as I mentioned, of our partnership with Ashbury Community Computer Center. And we're also very active on Cleveland's Digital Equity Fund, Coalition, where I do sit on all the task forces, I think, including one on seniors. And so that keeps us informed and helps me share the information back with the company, which is really what I was hired for, which is to represent the Cleveland and Northern Ohio market.
So many companies are struggling with what the back to work plan is going to look like. So what might the back to work plan look like for Verizon at this time?
Well, right now it's looking like my basement. So that's one thing. No, I mean, I've been so impressed, and I'm not sure if I mentioned, but I joined Verizon in like a month or two into the pandemic. And so I've never seen our Twinsburg office. I don't even know what it looks like. I have an ID. We don't even know if it works. We've been so cautious. There have been numerous updates. Like I mentioned, that daily webcast for us, that is directed at a lot of things and talking about a lot of things Verizon, so all of the V-teamers know. But one of its core purposes is to keep us updated on our return to work. So we've had almost every few months a comprehensive update at all levels of the company on our return to work policy. Right now, we're in a holding pattern. We are in our stage 3, I believe, of return to work. And so folks like me are at home and through the end of the calendar year. And so we should know more as our Verizon leadership team works on that. We should know more as later in the fall and early winter. But I can't overstate the care, caution, and concern that Verizon's had for its employees at this time and doing whatever necessary to keep us safe. And so that's really been impressive.
So from your perspective and what you've seen so far of Verizon's work in social justice and racial justice, what advice or suggestions might you have for other companies who are beginning this work or starting to advance what they might already have had?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, so we have an incredibly diverse workforce. We have so many employees. I will never know all the levels and all the departments that we have, but I think that what Verizon has done so incredibly well is bring the experiences of Black V-teamers to us as a company, to us as colleagues, and also give us space to have those conversations. And so as you can imagine, and again, this was new to me coming from the nonprofit sector, we have so many levels within the organization, but these are conversations that are happening at all levels. We have opportunities for discussions with our immediate teams. I'm in the public policy and legal and security slice of the company. And so we've had conversations among the thousands of employees and events where we can talk to each other. And so I think that bringing the voices of the experiences of those who have experienced racial and social injustice to others, that promotes that shared understanding and that proximity. And I think Verizon's doing that particularly well. And then I'll just add one quick thing. I think for us, for my role on the local level, connecting to local organizations, reaching out, understanding what's happening on the ground, understanding what Verizon might be able to do. And even if we're not able to do it now, suggestions for the future, thinking about things a little bit differently and bringing those voices into the mix. That's really important because we care very much about the markets we serve and our customers. And we have many of them here in Cleveland.
So how does Verizon work with local government entities and also libraries?
Sure. So as I mentioned, we're sponsoring Democracy 2020 with the Cleveland Public Library. I'm personally excited because I love Ibram X. Kendi and Brian Stevenson. I'm in the middle of Dr. Kendi's Stamp from the Beginning. I highly recommend it. It's transformative. So that's one way, is by lending, our marketing and sponsorship dollars. We are also, in addition with the Cleveland Public Library, sponsoring a workforce development program that they're launching this fall. And so I don't think that's been announced yet, but we're really excited about that because workforce development, upskilling, reskilling is part of our corporate social responsibility. It's one of our 3 pillars there. So that's one way. And then I would say the other way in terms of libraries is just being a resource. We are there, and again, that's my role. If there's a technology need, if there's a service that we can provide, we are here. And sometimes, there are other contracts and other things, and we're not able to assist in that way, but we are here, and we do want to work with our library system as much as possible. And I'll just say, it became very apparent, like, the library system is where people are accessing the internet, right, when they don't have it at home. And so we've seen and understood and talked with the Cleveland Public Library and some others, to understand what stress that put on the communities when those resources closed in the pandemic. So thankfully they're back up and running, but we're there for them when they need us.
So I have a question about the internet as a public utility movement and how Verizon might fit into that space.
Sure. Okay, I expected this question. So there's when people say internet as a public utility, it's actually a couple things they could be talking about. Sometimes it's affordability and access, and sometimes it's talking about regulation. So I'll give a quick answer on both sides. In terms of affordability and access, we absolutely embrace the fact that our services are essential for people's lives. I mean, there's no doubt about that. We take it very seriously, and that goes into how we keep up our network. That's part of how seriously we take it. The question is about what corporations should do, and then what the government should step up and do, and how do we strike that right balance? And we see that playing out right now on the local, state, and federal levels. Again, that's part of why I'm here, and we have other folks in local markets, is to share what's going on locally with the company, so they can bring that to the company leadership and think about it. There's also calls for substantial subsidies from the government for internet access. And that's the kind of thing that Congress would need to do. And actually Verizon's very much in support of that. So we're hoping to see those activities continue, and we will be supportive. Another way of looking at a public utility might mean regulation. And so that's been a controversial issue in the industry for years. We do support regulation that makes sense for technology and the context we are living in. But I was surprised to know that sometimes the regulations that people are talking about are rules that were written back in the 1930s, before anything that we're using right now ever existed. And so in terms of that, Congress really needs to come up with a current framework for today's issues. And so that's been something obviously our public policy team is keeping a close eye on and contributing to the conversation. And we're hoping that regulations will keep up with a rapidly developing industry like ours, but also keep the best interests of consumers at mind. So that's where we are.
So Jessica, we have time for one more question, and I'm going to kind of turn it and shift more towards you as a community leader.
Okay.
What keeps you going? Where do you find the strength to do all of those things Marianne mentioned at the beginning of this call?
Well, I think 2 things. One, you only live once. And so, being unhappy or not doing something, and my husband actually hates that because he's like, you signed up for what? And I said, but this is the only time, this is the only opportunity. And somebody asked me. So I really do live by that watchword. It is a little bit dangerous. But I will say that I'm very grateful. I have an incredible support system. My husband, Eric, is a saint among men who not only puts up with me, but puts up with my schedule. And those on the call who know us will know that that is 100% true. And also, I think that, particularly when it comes to being a working mom, which that is very close to my heart, I've had an incredible experience with employers throughout the years that have supported that and understood the importance of family and pursuing your professional goals. And I think if I could share anything, is that, if employers would continue to uphold that, you'd have a lot of incredibly happy employees that are able to both be a mom or a dad and bring their best professional self at work. So it's all of that. And I also love Cleveland. So anything I can do, I feel like this is what John Zissner says, it's a city that's small enough, large enough to matter and small enough to make a difference. And so I want to make my difference here.
Well, Jessica, thank you so much. And as one of our commenters said, we are all very fortunate, Verizon, our community, to have you as a spokesperson and engaging in our community. And I think I'm going to back up what Margaret Mitchell said, that you have a twin to be able to do all that you do.
Well, I'm going to look at the comments when everybody else signs off. So I want to see what
Jessica, thank you. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Marianne.
Gosh, Jessica, thank you. Just listening to you for this half hour is absolutely exhausting. Just your passion and energy, unmatchable. We spend a lot of time at the Leadership Center talking about collaborative leadership. I've never heard it couched in terms of a marriage before, where you truly collaborate together to get things done. That's congratulations, and thank you for all that you do and for your willingness to continue to give back to make Greater Cleveland a better community. We're better for you.